We are live. Yes, we are. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It's another Saturday. This is Mr. S. Welcome back to my channel. Glad to have you here with me. I just figured we'd take a chill pill today, just take it nice and easy, and just do some My Hero Academia artwork. I'm gonna do one little practice card, one little practice sketch card here, and then we're gonna do one fuller drawing that I'm gonna try to at least get all of the preliminary drawing done. It's gonna be a little bit more complicated, gonna be a little bit more risky, I suppose you could say, because I'm doing it live on camera, but why don't we go ahead and get started? All right. Let me go ahead and get this attached. There we go. Okay, make sure it's not wavering for you. Alright, so we're going to do a little sketch card first to get myself warmed up. I actually just kind of woke up from a nap about half an hour ago, so a little bit, I gotta wake myself up a little bit with a nice practice drawing. So since we're doing My Hero Academia today, the practice drawing is going to be of the face of All Might from My Hero Academia. He's the coolest one in my opinion. I like All Might quite a bit. I think he's pretty neat. Hello, Lyric. Good to have you here. So, My Hero Academia. If you do not watch anime, My Hero Academia is basically just like the Japanese version of American superhero comics, basically. All Might himself is very, very much inspired by Western comic characters such as Superman and Batman with the way that he's built. He's very, very non-Japanese styled in terms of most of the time Japanese art, manga art does not do like the really over-exaggerated musculature that American comics are so known for having. But All Might, in particular, very much has the squared-off jaw and the cut features that... Hello, Jordan. Good to have you here. That exemplifies superhero comics here in the West. There we go. So a nice quick roughing of his face. Then I'm going to grab my kneaded eraser. You can hear me cleaning it in the background right here, if that's what you're wondering. Hope you guys are having a good Saturday. I'm having a pretty good one myself. Very relaxed, taking it very easy. I mowed the lawn earlier today, and then I took a nice cold shower afterwards because, whew, rather warm where I live right now. But anyway, I wonder if anyone who's watching this watches My Hero Academia, or if they're even into that kind of anime stylings as I am. I also have the camera very close to the sketch card because it's very small, so I'm having to look behind the camera and look down, basically, in order to see what I'm doing. A little bit of a low-tech setup, but when you're not making basically any money from YouTube like I am, there's not really any point to getting a more advanced camera setup or a more advanced camera. Makes the most sense to just use what I have. I did, but I haven't watched it all the way through. Yeah, my feelings on My Hero Academia are rather mixed. Initially, I rather enjoyed the... Obviously, I really enjoyed the superhero aesthetic. Do you think you will ever create a series where you give constructive criticism to your fans' art? You know, that's a good question, Jordan. I wouldn't mind doing something like that at all. If you have artwork that you would like me to give constructive criticism on, you can always send it to my email that I have set up for YouTube. I can give that to you at the end of the... I can give that out at the end of the stream here, but I would be glad to give you the address for my YouTube email, and you can send me a picture of your artwork that way, and if you want me to give some constructive feedback, I'd be happy to do so. One thing that I do pride myself at is being able to give quality feedback. Kind of have to be able to do that if you're going to be an art teacher. But yes, My Hero Academia, initially I was quite into it because I'm a big fan of Western comic books, American comic books. Not as much anymore, but that's a topic for another time unless you want to hear me talk about the American comic book industry for a little bit. But I liked the Japanese take on the Western superhero tropes that we all know and love. But I don't know. It's just kind of like, at the end of the day, despite its fun premise, I did eventually start to grow bored with it because aside from the uniqueness of the premise, there really wasn't anything that the manga and then anime adaptation was offering that was interesting enough to keep me going and keep me reading and keep me watching it. And I think that's because, if you don't know, My Hero Academia is what's called a shonen series. And by shonen, it's a Japanese term that literally translates to teenage or teenage boy or young boy. So it's a shonen series and a shonen manga, which means that it is made specifically for teenage age boys. So it's meant to appeal to them. So there are certain tropes that are certain storytelling cliches that My Hero Academia has that a lot of other shows and shonen series also have. Shonen series would be like One Piece or your Naruto, your Bleach, all those kind of series. But basically all the same storytelling tropes and cliches that all of those series have, My Hero Academia also has. And one of the main things being the tournament arc. In almost every shonen series, there is a tournament arc that all the characters have to go into. And they hit the tournament arc really, really quickly in My Hero Academia, and I just kind of knew from the beginning how it was actually going to go. So I just kind of lost interest as soon as I saw that, oh, we're doing another tournament arc. Because I'm a very big fan of manga, so I have seen all the shonen tropes many, many times before, and very few times have there actually been anything of interest to do anything different with the formula. Hello, third person. Glad to have you with us. We are drawing a All Might practice drawing. Have you watched Attack on Titan? Hang on a second. Gotta stay hydrated. I have watched some of Attack on Titan. I did a lot more reading of the manga of Attack on Titan. We said, oh, I got scared. I don't know why. Oh, well, I'm sorry for that. I don't mean to scare you. Although, honestly, if we're being completely honest here, there have been times, especially when I was first teaching, when I was doing my student teaching as part of to get my education degree, there was a time when I was student teaching at a grade school, and the tone of voice that I have can be can seem, when I'm trying to just be commanding, it can come across as very angry. So I may or may not have accidentally made a small child cry once because of my tone of voice. Oh, I felt very, very bad when that happened. But Attack on Titan, I know a lot about Attack on Titan, but it's mainly from the manga that came first. I haven't really watched a lot of the anime. I know that the first season is very, very gorgeous looking. It absolutely is a gorgeous looking anime. But it also is very, very bleak. It's very, very sad, very, very depressing. And most of the time, I try as hard as I can to avoid watching that kind of media just because I watch this kind of stuff to escape from the real world and to maybe just enjoy something fun. And I don't want to feel horrible when a character that I really like gets brutally murdered, as they often do in Attack on Titan, especially the manga. I didn't mean to, Jordan. It was an accident. I've learned that I need to control and modulate my volume since then, but I still struggle with that every now and again. One of the perils of having a very booming, sonorous voice, I suppose. You do what you can. But yeah, Attack on Titan is a pretty decent shonen series, but I also feel that it kind of doesn't really know what it wants to be. And I don't know, it just doesn't appeal to me very much. And I started off reading and watching a lot of shonen stuff, because like I really liked shonen stuff when I first started reading Japanese manga. In particular, I read One Piece like crazy, and that was before I even knew that there was an anime version. We are switching to ink now because All Might is basically finished up here. But I started off with One Piece, and actually that reminds me of one of the things about manga that I was not aware of at the time when I started reading One Piece, and that was the fact that if the series is popular, it is never going to end. At the time, I didn't know that, so I started asking for the volumes for my birthday. I would buy them up myself when I would have the opportunity to do so. And I got up to volume 24 of One Piece. I had 24 volumes in my collection. And it was at this point that I was off to college. Well, hopefully it was a funny chair ad then, Jordan. I just read that off screen. But when I got to college was the first time that, this is how old I am, but that was the first time I had real access to the internet. And more access in terms of like, it would actually work and wouldn't take 15 minutes to do anything, because that's what the internet was for me for a very, very long time. So at that point, I decided to look up and see how many more volumes of One Piece there was, because I figured I had 24 volumes. That was over almost 240 chapters. Surely I had to be near the end of the series. Like, it had to almost be finished. Well, life must be enjoyable with when you're easily able to laugh like that, Jordan. But I figured surely this story has been going on for so long, it has to be done, or it has to be close to being done. But I was very much mistaken. Because I looked online, and I was a scanlation site where they upload translated scans of the manga. And I saw that there was 300 more chapters that had not even been released over in America yet. And not only that, but the series was not even close to halfway done. As of today, One Piece is at volume 93 and is on, and I believe has over 800 anime episodes. And the creator has said that it's only about 65% done. The series has been going for that long and is only 65% done. At least one of the main arcs is supposed to end soon, Lyric, but I read a while ago that at the end of the Whole Cake Island arc with Big Mom, that the series was only about 65 to 70% finished. But you would think that it would be coming to an end soon, because he's been making this for so long. It has to be wearing him out. But that was kind of a very crushing thing for me at that point, because I had grown very attached to the characters, but I just couldn't see myself continuing to buy that many volumes. That would take up an entire shelf, and it would just be dedicated to this one story that even at that point I was kind of thinking, I'm kind of done with this already. And I most definitely was after that. I checked out later chapters of One Piece, but the way that the artwork evolved, and the way that he started designing his female characters, and the way that he kept sidelining the main cast in order to highlight the cast of the new island that they were on, just started to really frustrate me. And I'm glad I jumped ship on that one when I did, I can tell you that much. But that was one of my first experiences with shonen manga and with manga in general. And since then, I've tried as much as I can that if I'm going to get into a series, I want to know that the end game is either in sight or has already come. I don't really ever get involved with currently ongoing series, and I will only buy volumes if I know that the series is either entirely done or is almost completely finished. So the main inking for All Might is done now. Hunter x Hunter, the new version. I have read the original series of Hunter x Hunter. The guy who created that one, who created Hunter x Hunter, is the same guy that made an old 90s manga and anime called Yu Yu Hakusho. I liked what I read of Hunter x Hunter, but to me, it was very, very just kind of scatterbrained in how it wanted to go about things, and it decided, I want to be about this now. Now I want to be about this. Now I want to do this. Now I want to do this. And if you read the manga like I did, there were times when the artwork would completely disastrously just give up, because an interesting thing about the creator of that series is that he is notoriously extremely lazy. He basically had to be forced to finish Yu Yu Hakusho when it first came out. And now he basically has some kind of contract with the company that releases Hunter x Hunter, the manga, where he can basically just take breaks whenever he wants to, and he'll do that so frequently that people have just kind of entirely given up on the Hunter x Hunter manga. I've heard the anime is quite good. I've seen parts of the anime in terms of the animation. The animation's very good in that show. But it's just a case for me where it's still ongoing. I don't think it's ever going to finish because he's just too lazy. And I can't really get into the anime when I know that it's not ever going to really ever be finished. Again, I'm the type of person that really wants to have the complete series of something. Oh, the anime is finished? Oh, that's good to know. But if you saw my animation shelf tour, you'll know that almost every series that I have in terms of anime is a complete series that I know has an actual conclusion. Because nothing frustrates me more than any series in general that either doesn't have a conclusion or has a bad one. In my opinion, if a series was really good all the way through, but has a bad ending... Oh, it's not? Okay, that's good to know. But if a series is really, really solid the whole way through and is really enjoyable, but has a crappy conclusion or doesn't have one at all, then that's going to lead me to not want to rewatch it at all. And will lead me to have a much more sour opinion on the series as a whole, and I will not want to watch it again. Because why would I want to watch it again when I know that the ending that it's working towards isn't good and isn't satisfactory? There are many people, I have friends who, including some friends I have, excuse you, Avatar: The Last Airbender has a great conclusion. I will fight you all day on that one. I very much disagree. I think Avatar has an amazing conclusion to its series. The only thing it left unanswered was what happened to Zuko's mother, but there's a tie-in comic book series that explains that. But Avatar is one of my favorite shows, if not my favorite show, specifically because of how well it ends. But everyone can have their own opinions. Okay, so we're nearing the end of inking up All Might here. I find All Might's design very interesting, and I find it very cool that at least in the first part of the show, his eyes are always in shadow and he has these cool shading effects on his eyes. You're saying it was great all the way through? Oh, okay, cool. That's much better. We are still friends now. Now we can remain friends. I thought it was the other way. See, that's the thing about only reading text, is that you're not able to actually understand the person's inflections and know what they were actually trying to say. I apologize. Thank you for clarifying. Okay. But this is what I mean by All Might has a design that's very similar to Western comic books or like American comic books, because of this shading that's consistently on his face at all times is very, very much in the vein of American comic books. So we're going to go ahead and finish this up here. All right. I think we're going to go ahead and call this finished. Just got to sign it as always. All right. It's worth it though, Lyric. It really is. Okay. Excuse me. I'm gonna bring in my big old sketchbook now. Big compared to the size that I've been working on. Okay. Gonna get that readjusted for you. Put him off to the side. I'm going to bring this up a little bit more. Give me just 1 second. I made a sound that sounds like a knock, and my dog doesn't appreciate it very much. Oh, Korra. Yeah, Legend of Korra. What a show that was. Yeah. What a show. It certainly existed, didn't it? Yep. That show certainly existed. I don't have many positive opinions. Oh, Jordan, that it's okay if someone doesn't like anime. Anime is, let's be honest, anime is weird, and it's very much not like anything that exists here in America. So, if someone doesn't enjoy anime, that's okay. Everyone can have different opinions. I wasn't wondering that, Lyric, but thank you for letting me know. But my main problem with The Legend of Korra is quite simply that I just don't like Korra. 19, 20, 15, 90 years. Ooh, harsh punishment. Harsh punishment indeed. But I just don't like Korra herself. I don't think she's a fun character. I don't like that she already knows like everything there is to know about bending. Like when she's 4? And she comes out when she's 4 at the very first episode, and she says, "I'm the Avatar, you have to deal with it." And she's looking right at the camera when she says it, so I feel kind of like that's the creators telling us to just deal with the brand new Avatar. I don't know. It bothers me. I wouldn't go quite that far, Jordan. I think that may be a bit harsh on your part, but no judgment here. You do you. I'm gonna try to draw an action shot here. We'll see if it succeeds or not. Don't know if it will, but it's fun to try. But yeah, I think Korra is too much of a Mary Sue protagonist, meaning that she just gets everything handed to her a lot of the time throughout the show. She doesn't really have to work for anything. And when she does have to try to work to attain bending, she just whines and complains the entire time and blames her teacher, Tenzin, for being a bad teacher with bending. I'm just like, you're not a fun protagonist to be around. I don't really like you very much. But I think the main thing that hurt Korra, the series as a whole, was because it didn't have something that the original Avatar series had. So a lot of people, when they think about, like, showrunners... Yeah, I actually know about Mako. I know all about... I know a lot of stuff about... I know very random stuff about a lot of things. Just ask anyone around me. It's gotten to the point now where it's almost more surprising when I don't know some random bit of trivia about anything, really. But when you think of like a showrunner, like who the show was created by, it's very rare that creator will have a lot of direct input over the entire show. And by that, I mean that, yes, they may have created the concept for the show, but that doesn't mean that they actually will write out the episodes, storyboard the episodes, animate the episodes, all that stuff. They never said what happened to Sokka or Suki or Meili. Oh, they never did? I only got to the second season and I completely gave up on the show, so I wouldn't have known that. That's rather frustrating. I know that they make a joke about never revealing what happened to Zuko's mother in the first episode, so that kind of frustrated me. But a lot of people, for example, are really excited about the live-action Avatar: The Last Airbender series that's being developed for Netflix because it has the original show creators on board as producers. And people are saying, oh, now this means that they're going to get it right. And I would say, well, not necessarily. And the reason for that is because, number one, the creators of Avatar were also the main creative force behind The Legend of Korra, which wasn't a good continuation of Avatar at all, which makes you wonder if they only really ever had Avatar, like if they only had the Avatar in their system and weren't able to make anything else. But also, it's the fact that the original Avatar: The Last Airbender series was actually had a single head writer on the entire show, and this head writer supervised the entire process. Every single episode that got written had to pass through him. Well, I hope it's not trash either, but again, here's my reason why I'm nervous about it. And it's because while the show creators are on board, there is one person who is not involved that makes me nervous for the lack of their involvement. And that person his name is Aaron Ehasz. And Aaron Ehasz, as I was saying, was the head writer on the entire series of Avatar: The Last Airbender. Meaning that while there were other people that wrote episodes, their scripts had to be supervised and approved by him. He was the one that was responsible for making sure that everything that happened in the show still worked in continuity with what had been previously established, character-wise and world-building-wise. So in my opinion, Avatar was so successful because of the work of Aaron Ehasz. It was thanks to him that everything was just as tight as a drum in terms of how well things stayed together in continuity. And he is not attached to the live-action Avatar: The Last Airbender series. And that makes me nervous as a fan of his writing, because he also went on to write the show called The Dragon Prince for Netflix, which was a show that I really wanted to watch because of his involvement, because I really like his work. But I just couldn't watch it because I couldn't stomach the animation. The animation was just too stilted for me. I had this thing about watching animation that's just a little bit too far on the stilted side. It's why I can't watch Into the Spider-Verse. The somewhat janky looking animation just bothers me on the physical level. But without him attached to the new Avatar series, I would be nervous that something is going to be lost as a result. I mean, something already will be lost because Avatar exists best as an animation, and I can't imagine that anything they do in live action is going to look nearly as good as it did in the animated format. I am slightly addicted to Avatar as well, if you can't tell. And even the book of The Search, which was an explanation for what happened to Zuko's mother. What happened to Aaron Ehasz? Oh, he's still around. He's doing The Dragon Prince right now. Just for some reason, they didn't bring him back for the live-action adaptation. If they had, I might have a little bit more optimism for it, but right now it just seems like another unnecessary reboot of a series that doesn't need it. There really is no reason that I can fathom as to why Avatar needed a live-action reboot. It's not old, it's not hard to find. You can still find the collections of it in stores still right now. So I cannot fathom, except for just making money, as to why they would decide that this needed to be remade. It was perfect as it was. Of course, it doesn't matter what I say, because what matters at the end of the day is if people choose to watch it or not. Because if they choose to not watch it, then maybe they'll get the message that they need to stop with all these live-action reboots of cartoons that nobody wants and nobody likes. But if the Disney formula has taught us anything, it's that it's still going to make money. And there's not a whole lot that you can do about it. Oh, I agree. The movie was absolutely awful. The big mistake with it was that they tried to condense an entire 21 episode season into an hour and a half, which didn't work at all. I just mainly feel bad for that kid who had to play Aang, because he probably really liked the show. Can't imagine how he felt to be a part of the movie that nobody likes. By the way, I'm trying to make this thumb work. I'm getting there. Just give me a second. Hands are difficult. There we go. Slightly better, but it's still a little bit too big. Okay, let me adjust this a little bit. This looks slightly wrong to me. There we go. I had to stop talking so I could actually concentrate and look and try to fix what I was doing. There we go. Okay, that works slightly better. Quick drink. All right. We are drawing Deku, by the way. And Deku is the main hero of My Hero Academia. And at first, I thought he was going to be pretty interesting, because the whole idea of My Hero Academia is that everyone in the world has a quirk, which is basically an X-Men power, but but they always come with some kind of caveat that you can do this, but this will also happen then. And Deku was the one character in the show who did not have a quirk. And quirks have become so commonplace in this world, in the world of My Hero Academia, that excuse me, that to not have a quirk makes you an outcast. And so he gets picked on all the time, incessantly, by Bakugo, who has the ability to ignite his sweat with like napalm-like stuff. They could have redone the show, but with a twist up to a certain episode is the same, but then they changed the ending and gave us more episodes. That actually sounds a lot like the Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood reboot of the original 2003 Full Metal Alchemist, actually. That wouldn't be a bad idea, but I have a strong feeling that they're not going to do it. I want to try to think optimistically, but I don't know. I can't really think of a reboot that has ever come out that has been anything other than eh. And like, I don't know, it just bothers me. But I thought the Deku, considering that he didn't have a superpower, was going to have to like work his way up and through the ranks of becoming a superhero in the world without having a power. Because I thought, oh, okay, that sounds pretty interesting actually, and it would give him a unique perspective on things, and he would have to work a lot harder to make his way up to being a superhero, since he didn't have any power to speak of. But then they almost immediately dropped that interesting character trait by just giving him superpowers anyway. I was like, oh, well, that's disappointing. To be fair, he couldn't really control the power at first, but then that became a moot point later, because like he can just control it now. Hi, OllyX, good to have you here. We are drawing Deku from My Hero Academia. You also just missed me ranting for a while about Legend of Korra and why it doesn't live up to Avatar, and then why I don't have faith in the live-action remake that's coming out for Netflix as a TV series. Be sure to watch that later. Oh no, he has a quirk now. He got the quirk that All Might has. All Might literally gave him like a lock of his hair and like made him eat it, and that gave him like All Might's power. I mean, he has to learn to control it, but like he got the power. So the whole interesting thing of him not having a power is just gone now, because he has one now. Like, and he got it like right away too. That's not something that comes later in the show. That comes literally in like the first or second episode. He just gets the ability to have that power. And of course, it's one of the strongest in the world. And of course, he's going to become one of the strongest heroes. And I don't know. They had an opportunity to really subvert the formula of the shonen protagonist just being stronger than everyone else. But I don't know. It just frustrates me that we had this interesting idea, but then it was squandered for him to say, no, let's just go back to the typical shonen formula of the main character being the literal strongest of them all. Yes, his quirk is the quirk that he got from All Might. Granted, it came at the cost of All Might not being slowly losing his power, but he was pretty beaten up anyway. He was pretty heavily damaged already, so he would have to have passed it on to someone else anyway. So I don't know. I liked Deku, but then they just backed out of making him interesting and just made him the typical shonen protagonist. And I say typical shonen protagonist because if you have read and watched as much shonen as I have, almost all of the main characters of shonen anime and manga share the same character traits. The character traits being easily excitable, they really love to eat food, and most of the time they're dumb as a box of rocks. Luffy, in my opinion, is the worst example of the dumb anime protagonist. Or shonen protagonist, because he constantly gets his friends in trouble and puts themselves in really bad situations because Luffy is an idiot. Honestly, it's one of the reasons why I stopped reading One Piece is because I started to really not be able to stand Luffy as a character. I just found him insanely frustrating with how often he put his friends in danger because he was being stupid. Not exactly what you would call an endearing character trait. Even when he gets called out on it constantly, he just never stops being stupid. But even then, I still was interested in watching and reading My Hero Academia because of the interesting powers that would be at play. I kind of liked the characters. I especially liked All Might himself as a character. Oh, Full Metal Alchemist? Yes. Let me talk about that real quick, and then I'll get back to talking about Deku. So yeah, Full Metal Alchemist had a anime series in 2003, and it was, and at that point, the manga version of the story was still going on. So the anime that was in 2003 was following the manga almost perfectly until episode 25 happened. And at episode 25, they had completely caught up with the manga. And each chapter of the manga only came out once a month. So, at that point, they had to make a decision. They could either wait and do filler episodes until more chapters of the manga came out, or they could try to write the rest of the story themselves. They chose the latter. So for the second half of FMA 2003, the creators of the show, of the anime, write their own version of what happens next. And for me, that became very noticeable when the anime became considerably worse. Their explanations for where plot lines were going, what characters were going to do, what characters' motivations were, it just felt like it didn't work. The ending to FMA 2003 is awful and completely disrespects a lot of the characters' motivations and the storylines that they have been building up that entire time. But there are also people who say that it's really great, but me? No. I did not see what AliX wrote, but I saw something about comics, but I'm also ranting about FMA 2003. But basically, I am one of the people that really did not like FMA 2003 after the halfway point. Many people say that it's a superior version of the story, but I think it is a awful version of the story, and I cannot stand it. So, then they came out with Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. And Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood came out, I believe, in 2008 or so. Oh, that's okay. This is an anime episode. This is an anime stream, so I'm just talking about anime. But Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood takes the story of Fullmetal Alchemist, the manga, and gives it the full justice that it deserves, because by that point the manga was completely done. And so the anime was able to follow it perfectly, beat for beat. And it really showcases just how much better of a story the actual creator of Fullmetal Alchemist had in mind for when she was creating her series. Because Fullmetal Alchemist was written by a woman. And the ending was much better. The characters were much better, much better. The explanations for certain things, I'm trying to avoid spoilers, were much better handled. And it was just overall far, far superior to the 2003 version that had come out. And also in terms of animation, because the animation in Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood, so great. So great. That would be a fun idea. I could definitely get into something like that. I would have to get my actual clay materials out because I haven't used those for a long time, but that would be a fun idea. Be a little bit of a change of pace. Nothing wrong with that at all. Making a Katara type necklace, that'd be pretty neat if I'd say so myself. Good idea, good suggestion. But yes, I was still interested in reading My Hero Academia because Deku was still interesting enough to me, and what was going on around him was interesting enough for me to want to continue it for at least a little bit. But it just kept doing more and more of the traditional shonen cliches. The bad guy who gets reformed into a good guy. The protagonist is almost beaten, but then he wins out through the power of friendship. Seriously, you would not believe how many shonen protagonists are able to regroup and destroy their opponents because of the power of friendship. It is ridiculous. Seems like you two are having a good conversation. That's good to see. Because I'm having to really concentrate on this one because it's not just a head. I'm trying to draw a full body action shot. How am I doing so far? Does this look alright? I think it looks alright. But yes, there's a lot of typical shonen cliches that follow the genre of manga. And it's just kind of ridiculous just how many of the cliches My Hero Academia indulges in and doesn't do anything different with them. It just presents these cliches like they're brand new. And like as soon as I saw Bakugo, I was like, okay, so he's going to be the rival character that eventually becomes like starts to have grudging respect for Deku and what he's trying to do. Or when when a bad guy gets reformed and becomes a good guy, I'm like, I've seen that so many times before. It's not interesting anymore to me. I want to see something different done with this formula, but My Hero Academia is just executing the same shonen cliches that fans of the genre have seen before. And for a lot of people, that seems to be enough. And if that is, that's totally fine. But for me, that's just not enough anymore. I don't find those same cliches being used over and over again to make for an interesting series. I want something different. But what do I know? Clearly, the anime is very, very popular. And I will say, one thing that I will never take away from the show, for trying to start your own show or animation, the one thing that I would say about trying to start your own show, involving your own original characters, I presume, is to create for yourself what's called a series Bible. And a series Bible simply means that you have a list, that you have a big old reference guide for all the characters in the show, what their personalities are, and how they interact with the other characters in the show. And if you're going to have a magic system, like Avatar: Last Airbender, or if you're going to have a system of like superpowers, you have to make sure that you know how they work and how they interact with each other. Otherwise, you're going to be setting yourself up for failure. So write out everything that you possibly can about how your world works, where it's located. If it's located in a fantasy world, How does the government work? How do people get food? How do people get water? Where do people live? What's the landscape like? Is there architecture? What do the buildings look like? Because the buildings have to make sense. If, for example, this is a world without technology, you can't then have massive buildings that are clearly made by machines. That wouldn't make much sense. That would be my main advice. Come up with as many details about the world that you're creating as you possibly can, and that'll set yourself up for a major success. Okay, so we are actually getting close to the ending of the main drawing phase for this character here. I'm going to draw a few more details on, and then I'm going to get to the inking, and then I'll probably call this stream good. Gotta stay hydrated. Hello, fourth person. Good to have you here. We are currently drawing Deku from My Hero Academia. And I've basically spent this entire stream just ranting about certain different types of anime and talking about the cliches that are within the shonen genre of anime. I'm looking forward to getting back to work too. I always like heading back to work. As a teacher, I really enjoy what I do. And the old saying goes, if you love what you do, you're never going to work a day in your life. And I certainly very much enjoy what I do. Alright, so let's get some detail on his boots taken care of. One thing I'll say about My Hero Academia is that I've ranted about the storytelling cliches within it, but one thing I will never take away from it is the art. I really like Kohei Horikoshi's artwork in My Hero Academia. I think he has a unique way of drawing his characters. I think his expressions are great. I think his action is very kinetic and very well done. And I think he's overall a very good artist. But I actually know him better from the series that he did before he did My Hero Academia. It was another series that he had running in the same magazine that, for whatever reason, did not catch on with audiences and it had to get canceled after only 16 chapters. But that one was called Barrage. And I really liked Barrage. I have the 2 volumes that were collected of the series. I'm disappointed it was cut short, but it was a very good series that I would have really liked to actually see more of. I didn't want it to run for upteen gazillion chapters or anything like that, but I wish it had run for a little bit longer than it ended up doing. Okay. So I think that's going to do it for the penciling of Deku. So I'm going to go ahead and take a quick stretch break right now, because I've been bent over this drawing for a while. All right. So let's go ahead and start to ink this bad boy here. I'm going to try to get this all inked up, and then I'm going to call this stream good and probably go take a nap, because this is probably the most intensive of any stream that I've done so far in terms of trying to be really ambitious with what I'm actually trying to draw. Not just a face this time, try to draw a whole body. I think it went all right. Also went in a little bit closer so that you can see the inking as I do it. But yeah, I was disappointed that Barrage was canceled, but it did mean that he was able to go on and create My Hero Academia and is currently having a lot of success with it. So hey, power to him. I'm glad he was able to find success. Deku has these little freckles here. There we go. All right. This is always the part that's a little bit scary, because I can't take an ink line back when I've put it down. I'm stuck with it. So I hope you're all having a good summer. I'm having a very good one myself. You like shows that run forever because you always have something to watch? See, again, I understand that mentality. I actually have a couple friends who are very much like that. One of my friends in particular really loves the show Supernatural, and she wishes that it would just run forever because she just wants to keep watching it. And I understand where that mindset comes from. And like, that makes a lot of sense to me. But I'm just one of those people that I like to see where something is going. I like to know that there is an end game in sight. You have a lot of favorite movies? That's nice. But I like to know that what I am watching is leading to something, ultimately leading to some kind of conclusion. And if it's not, then I can't, for me personally, I just can't get invested in something like that. That's why I'm always going to prefer a show that is episodic in nature, because that means each episode is its own self contained story and doesn't have anything beyond that that I have to worry about. It does mean that I don't watch a lot of shows with long form storytelling, which again, that does mean that I'm missing out on stuff. I realize that. Sounds like a good summer, except for the sunburn part. But I do realize that I'm not going to experience a lot of the what people call the really great shows. I will always prefer a show that doesn't overstay its welcome, tells the story that it wants to tell, and then moves on. Black Clover. Oh, okay. To me, Black Clover is basically the new Naruto. It is very, very obvious that the creator of Black Clover was inspired by Naruto because the main character, Asta, he's basically Naruto. Excuse me. And the beginning of Black Clover is so similar to Naruto that it could almost borderline on plagiarism. But I have seen some of Black Clover, and it's alright. You can recommend it. Does it get better than the first couple of episodes? If it does, then maybe I'll give it a try. But I've read the manga and I've watched the anime, and I think it's alright. I definitely think it's alright. I always like something that uses magic systems. But I just thought it was kind of weird that the main character got a totem or like got a grimoire that that negates magic. It was like it's anti-magic. Oh, you were never into Naruto? Okay, so what I said just really wouldn't apply to you, and that's fine. That makes sense. But I know that I can also come across as like pessimistic about a lot of different things, but basically I just have really specific types of things that I enjoy. Oh, he is developing more of a character? Okay, that is good. That is good to know. Thank you. But I just have very particular tastes about what I do and don't like, and I find that by having that sort of very specific types of taste is that I'm able to spend more time on the things that I really do enjoy instead of just trying to go around and watch everything in the world, all of the stuff, all the things. Oh, yeah. I can understand that. I think at one point in the manga, Asta even gets like one of his arms blown off. But then they have magic, so they just repair it. But yeah, if I remember correctly, there are moments in Black Clover, the manga, that are pretty violent. That does remind me of a funny story as I'm finishing this up here, though. I don't know if any of you kids are probably too young for this, but back in my day, back when I was in junior high and high school, we had Saturday morning cartoons, and that was really the only way that I ever got to watch any kind of anime, was the stuff that was on 4Kids, basically Fox Kids. And they had One Piece on there. But at that point, I had a bunch of the volumes of One Piece, the manga series. And so, whenever the fights would come up in the One Piece anime, I'd be really confused, because in the One Piece manga, when the characters fight, blood goes everywhere. It's very bloody. It's a very bloody series. Like, when someone gets sliced with a sword, like, the blood spews. It goes everywhere, and it's very violent. But when the One Piece fights would happen in the anime, the characters would be punching each other and slicing each other with swords, but they would never actually get damaged. Like, you wouldn't actually see blood. And it wasn't until a long time later that I realized that 4Kids was censoring the violence in that show. And sometimes it was really, really blatant that they were doing that, because there was one episode where Luffy got sliced 3 times across the stomach by someone who had a glove with a sword on the end of each glove, and on the end of each fingertip there was a sword, and so he got sliced with all those, and it was pretty graphic in the manga. But in the anime, all that happened was that when Luffy got sliced, it literally just sliced up his clothes. Like, it sliced up his stomach, the clothes, his shirt a little bit, but he acted like he had gotten seriously damaged. He acted like he had gotten seriously hurt because his shirt got ripped up a little bit. But yeah, Saturday morning and cartoons was my favorite thing to do when I was in high school. Yeah, see, that's what I'm saying, is that a lot of kids nowadays, you don't have cable anymore. A lot of them don't. A lot of you don't have cable, so a lot of stuff that I grew up with, you just don't have that kind of experience with. But like, nothing would make me happier than to get through the week of school, get up at 6 o'clock on Saturday mornings, go downstairs and start watching some cartoons. A lot of it was censored anime, and I didn't know it was anime at the time, of course. But now I do. But it was just funny to me just how blatant they were being about censoring the violence. And there was a character that smoked in the manga, but instead, since they couldn't have smoke, yeah, exactly what I'm talking about right now, Feline Sign. There's a character in One Piece that smoked cigarettes all the time. But they couldn't show him smoking a cigarette on a kids program, so they literally gave him a lollipop instead. So instead of smoking, he was constantly sucking on lollipops. And it was rather hilarious just how blatant they were being about, like, not even trying to hide the fact that they were censoring him clearly smoking. There's a character later on who had the ability to turn his body into smoke, and he chain smoked cigars, like 2 of them at a time. Couldn't show that, so instead they just have smoke constantly pouring out of his mouth, because he's a smoke man, so he's just constantly spewing smoke all the time, so it was rather funny. Okay. Goodness, I just need to take a break from talking for a second, so we'll just do a little bit of drawing for a minute. The version you saw of One Piece might not have been sent. No, there's no such thing as an awkward silence. Silence is only awkward if you make it so. But I do think that maybe later on, they started airing the uncensored episodes of One Piece. Certainly not when I was a kid, I'll tell you that much. In fact, actually, that's not even one of my favorite examples of censorship. One of my favorite series when I was a young kid was Yu-Gi-Oh!, which is a card game anime, where the fate of the world centers around them playing a children's card game for literally the fate of the world. But in the original anime version, a lot of the times, like, the characters will be threatened by people with guns, like actual guns. But when 4Kids got their little censorship hands on the anime, they couldn't have someone actually point a gun at someone else. So literally, there are several points in the Yu-Gi-Oh! 4Kids censored anime where characters will threaten another character by pointing their finger at them. The hand that was originally holding a gun is instead just pointing a finger at them very menacingly. And as a kid, I had no idea what was going on, and it was only later when I started watching Little Karibo's version of Yu-Gi-Oh! Abridged that I was actually able to figure out that they were actually censoring the gun. They never actually fired the guns, which would have been rather hilarious. But it was the most blatant when one of the characters, Bandit Keith, was threatening the main villain of the particular arc, Maximilian Pegasus. And he was clearly supposed to be holding a gun to his head, and like everyone was behaving as if he was actually holding a gun at the time. Like everyone was very like worried and like surprised and shocked. But literally, Bandit Keith in the censored version is just pointing his finger at Maximilian Pegasus, and everyone is acting like it's the most dangerous finger in the entire world. Like, don't mess with that guy, he has a finger. Oh no, what are we gonna do? and then right after that, Pegasus springs a trap that like plummets Bandit Keith down to the ocean depths. But 4Kids didn't want you to think that Bandit Keith was actually dead, so they made the actor add in an ouch when he hit the water below. Because that was a long, long drop, but then they had an ouch added in so that it lessened the blow, I guess, made it less serious. But no, nothing's ever gonna top intimidating finger pointing as a tactic to to extort information from somebody, or to make them come with you. Otherwise, they're gonna point their fingers at you. I loved it. I loved it. Never realized until later that it was actually supposed to be guns because I wasn't that smart of a child. Yu-Gi-Oh! Zexal, huh? I know a little bit about Yu-Gi-Oh! Zexal, but it was past my time of watching cartoons on Saturday mornings. I mean, I still watch cartoons. I wanted to think that I was grown up for a while, but then I came back to cartoons pretty quickly. I'll be honest. But I know that Zexal came after two different Yu-Gi-Oh! Series, which was, I believe, GX and 5Ds. 5Ds is my personal favorite because of card games on motorcycles. They tried to make that cool, and it was hilarious that they thought that that could even be remotely cool because it's not. It's just not. One thing I have noticed about Horikoshi as an artist is he draws very, very large hands. Not large in and of themselves, but whenever the character puts on gloves, suddenly, or gloves or gauntlets, suddenly their hands just become massive. Because these are not like armored gauntlets that he's wearing. These are just like normal spandexy like gloves. But for some reason, his hands just become absolutely enormous. I don't get it, but whatever. It's just a unique thing that Horikoshi does with his character designs. As you may have noticed with all the anime references I'm spewing this particular stream, I know a lot about anime. I know probably too much about anime, because I am known to do what is called nerdjacking, which is where I hijack a conversation that had nothing to do with anime or nerd culture and will make it about anime or nerd culture, much to the annoyance of some of the people that are around me. There we go. Let's go ahead and finish this up. I'm not going to worry about doing line weight with this particular episode because I'm running past 60 minutes already, so I'll do line weight on my own and I'll fill in some dark tones with it on my own later. I just kind of wanted to see if I could get an entire figure drawn and inked within the course of one stream, and I think I have succeeded, so that makes me very happy indeed. I do too, Lyric. Can you tell that I love anime as well? One thing to realize too is that just because you love something doesn't mean that it has to be immune to criticism either. You can criticize something and still love it. In fact, if you criticize something and are still able to love it, that just means that you're able to acknowledge that it has flaws and still enjoy it. And like, there's nothing wrong with that because everything will have flaws. Everything will have plot holes. Everything will have inconsistencies. The only thing that should really be important is how much that you let those things impact you. That's okay. Most of my family has no idea what anime is either. I actually grew up being the only one that liked anime. So, don't worry, you're not alone. I grew up in an environment that really didn't know what anime was and didn't care to know what anime was. And that's okay. Oh, you did? That's awesome. Was a fan of Pokemon. Keyword was. Yeah, I'm with you there. I used to love Pokemon a lot. I used to love the original Pokemon Run, and I loved the Ruby and Sapphire series too, with May and Brock coming back. With May and then Brock coming back, but I haven't watched any of the Pokemon series after that. And in terms of the video games, I have played almost all of them, but almost every single time that I would play one of the Pokemon games, I just couldn't find it within myself to finish it because it's such a time sink. That's interesting. I'm not sure how he did that lyric, but okay. But Pokemon really is a major time sink. And I just didn't have the time to do that and then also have any kind of a semblance of a life as well. So something had to give there. But with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I believe that we are going to call this stream good. I have been drawing for 65, almost 66 minutes now. I'm rather exhausted. Before I leave you, I will go ahead and erase out the pencil lines on this one. This is the piece that I started off with, by the way. I'll go ahead and erase the pencil on this one so you can see what it looks like underneath. And then I need to go have a good lie down because I am exhausted. Thank you, Feline Sign. That means a lot to me. I really appreciate that. So let's see what he looks like underneath all of that messy pencil lines. Oh, we played Pokemon all the time, huh? That kind of sounds like when I was a kid and I ruined the Grinch for everybody because I played the live-action version of the Jim Carrey live-action Grinch movie on repeat once a day for an entire summer once. I kind of soured my entire family on the Grinch after that. I wonder why. Oh, missed a spot right there. Thank you, I appreciate that. I just kind of wanted to do something that's a little bit more on the popular side right now. Maybe more people would know. Morgan Berry? I don't actually know that name off the top of my head. Sorry. Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is going to do it for our stream today. Got a couple of things done. I'm pretty happy with them. Thank you all very much for tuning in. If you came in late to the stream, be sure to check it out after it's been re-uploaded as soon as the stream is finished. And I hope you have a great rest of your day. I'll try to get back to you with another stream next Saturday, probably in the afternoon. And until I see you guys next, have yourselves a good day. Yes, the stream will probably be in the afternoon next Saturday. I'll try to post a date, time for it on like next Friday. Have yourselves a good day, ladies and gents. I'm calling it done.